Welcome back to Unleash Your Amazing Leadership. Today, my special guest is my friend Pia Washington. She's also known as the Property PhD, a real estate investor, serial entrepreneur, and best-selling author with over 30 years experience in financing and investing. Now, she's also the author of Attracting the Life You Want from the Boardroom to the Bedroom and Beyond, a practical guide to creating a level 10 life across career, relationships, health, and finances. After retiring as Vice President of Financial Training and Investing, Pia became the president and co-founder to the Path to Home Ownership Dreams, Inc., a 501c3 nonprofit providing affordable housing and financial education to families in crisis. Now, following her own health scare, she expanded into health and wellness and now champions the belief that your health is your wealth. Welcome, Pia.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Tammy. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being on the show. I just mentioned you talk about living a level 10 life. What does level 10 leadership actually look like in practice?
That is a great question. And for me, when I talk about living a level 10 life, it's not about perfection so much. We think of being a 10 out of 10, but it's about striving to get to that level of everything feeling very balanced and, striving for. So it's about progress over perfection, I like to say. But basically, it just means looking at every aspect of your life and saying, how would I rate my relationships? How would I rate my health? How would I rate my finances? And let's just say you might be a 7 out of 10, on your relationships, but a 9 out of 10 in your business. Okay, well, what does a 10 look like? And what do you need to do to get there, right? So each there's actually quadrants that we look at, in our life, right? That a lot of times, when we talk about podcasts, on podcasts or things like this about leadership, it's all about the business aspect. But
Mhm.
as you very well know, if we're not doing well in the other areas of our life, that can definitely impact our business and our other ventures that we're working towards. So I think it's very important to strive for that balance of achieving, getting as close to a 10 as possible in all areas.
Yeah, like taking a holistic look at your life. And it's funny that you say balance. I have decided that there's no such thing as balance. It's
Right.
in different seasons, there's things
Yes.
that are like more heavy or more take more of your time than others. But it's really about, for me, it's become about integrating all those pieces together so that you can be more holistically healthy.
I think balance is a misunderstood. So I agree with you 1000%. Like it's not about, I think when people hear the word balance, and maybe I need to come up with a different word, they think equal, right? They think, oh, like,
Mhm.
I need to
Mhm.
balance my home and and like you said, it's more of an integration. I love that word. It's more of being integrated and how does understanding how each aspect of our life impacts the other and trying to make those things work. So if I'm striving for a level 10 life, I am going to do better in my business if I'm also focused on my relationship with my husband and my kids and my grandkids, and I feel grounded in that. And or conversely, if someone's struggling with their finances or something like that, and then they're going out and they're trying to be productive in building their organization, some of that might seep over. So it's about looking at the whole, like you said, holistic picture of your life and really trying to say, just assess, like, this is where I am today. What do I need to do to progress toward a level 10 in each of these areas?
I love that perspective. It's like, and what you said over, progress over perfection. Sometimes we really beat ourselves up if things are not perfect, but, you know, life is an experiment, right? We're always striving for the best, but it takes time and patience. And sometimes we have more patience for others than we do for ourselves.
For sure. I know that's true for me. And I tend to be, as you know, because you've done assessments on me, I'm very much a type A, C, personality. And I I dealt in numbers and there's, right and wrong. And so perfection is something that I was always struggling with, striving for. And, sometimes you have to take that hat off, right? And say, okay, it's important for the numbers to balance in a, financial spreadsheet for business, but that kind of has to be perfect. But in your life and your personal life, life is messy, life is fuzzy, right? It's not, black and white. There's so many different shades of gray. So I had to learn, like, over time and through a lot of books and coaching, that, it's definitely not about perfection. And I'm enjoying the progress, enjoying the journey.
Yes, I love that. Because it is,
Mhm.
life is such a journey. So your journey, speaking of, includes decades of trial, experimentation, and reinvention. How did
Mhm.
your biggest mistakes become your most valuable leadership lessons?
Ooh, that is awesome. How did my biggest mistakes become my most valuable leadership lessons? I think one of them is understanding that how I live my life, what I put in my body, things that I'm doing, things in my environment impact me in such a way that it can change everything for me. So let me put that in a different way. For example, you mentioned my health scare. And I think for so long, and at the time, I was leading a pretty nice sized team of financial analysts. We were working for a business advisory law firm, and I was the vice president of financial training and investing for this group of people. And, the biggest lesson there was is that I had to number one, a leader needs to lead from the front, like kind of practice what you preach type of thing, right? I can't expect my team to do anything that I'm not willing to do. But when I saw that my health and some of the was choices that I was making a big, huge impact in my work product, that for me was a big shift in my mindset because up until that point, I felt like I was doing all the right things. Like I said, I'm very analytical, I'm very detail oriented, I'm type C, I strive for perfection. And up until that point, but I was so tired all the time. I was lethargic, I was cranky, I was having really bad mood swings, and I had to really tamper myself because we also worked with clients. So it wasn't just about leading my team. I also had to deal with other business investors and business owners and real estate investors. So my eating habits and my hormones were two of the things that I was like, okay, what do I need to do to take control of this? Because it was such a, I mean, and you might think of that and say, okay, well, yeah, how does that really impact your leadership? It really impacted my leadership in such a way that I couldn't be the best version of myself. And I feel like that's really important when we're talking about leading anyone is you have to be the best version of yourself. And so it's not vanity. It's not about, oh yes, I was 30 pounds overweight. That wasn't it. It was the medical toll that I was passing out on Zoom calls, right? So
Mhm.
it was really one of those things where, all of the other things that were impacting, and I was eating and I was just, doing things that like took me to a different place of being unhealthy. And it wasn't because of anything other than I was at an age as a woman that my hormones had gotten to a point where they were completely out of whack. And so anyway, I could go on and on and on about that. I could do a whole session on, our hormones and how we can balance them. But basically for me, it was a big scare in terms of my health. And then that also impacted how I was interacting with my team and how I was leading my team. And so now I like to encourage people to look at what they're putting in their body and to lead a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah, I can so relate to that. The last several years had been really stressful, and I definitely had put on some weight. And over Christmas, I was really sick of some GI stuff. And now I'm 3 weeks of completely like tracking my food every day and being so mindful of what I'm putting into my body. And it's really not just about the weight, but it's like, it was scary to feel like that and to be like really down and out. I'm not sick very often. And it was a lot. So I'm grateful to be beyond that, but also that it was this quick eye opening where I'm like, okay, I got to cut this. So I've not had soda, any coffee for 3 weeks now.
Right.
And now I'm working on bread, cutting the bread out, especially like maybe some homemade bread now and then will be okay. But the processed things and our food is just not really made for health. It's made for convenience. And I think it's really important as we're going into 2026 and coming into 2027, we have this big energetic shift that's happening. And I feel like everybody needs to really focus right now on the strength of their selves, taking care of your
Mhm.
body and building strength for, the our world is a little chaotic right now. And the only thing that you can really control is how you're taking care of yourself.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
So, as an emotional driven leader, how have you learned that trusting timing and clarity rather than pressure or urgency, especially in those high stake decisions that you make?
Yeah, I think timing and clarity, it's interesting because for me, it's really about taking a beat.
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes when people are in high pressure jobs dealing with, really senior level C-suite executives as well as, multimillionaires and dealing with a lot of, quite frankly, a lot of zeros. And I mean, that's kind of been my background and my history. I think there is a lot of pressure and there is a lot of stress associated with that. And sometimes I think for me that I gain clarity when I take a beat. It's just like
Mhm.
when you're speaking publicly or doing anything else or dealing with your children. You remember being as a parent when my kids were young. I'm still a parent, but they're all grown up now. But it's just like we have this tendency to go right into the what are you doing, but when you take a beat, and my oldest daughter, who's the only one that's a parent, is so good at this. She just is very slow and quiet, and she
Mhm.
gets down on their level and she just talks to them very, very calmly. And I learned that lesson from her. And when you think about that, you can apply that in any aspect of your business and, dealing with high pressure situations because you're always going to make a better decision when you're being thoughtful and clear versus the stress or the impact of somebody like rushing you to make a decision and you're just flying off the handle, right? So I think for most people, just stopping and taking a minute and getting clarity is going to help them a whole lot, like, to deal with that pressure and that stress. Even when we're talking about like holistic stuff and health and wellness, most of the time, you're going to start by taking breaths, right? Like whatever that it is that you're trying to like deal with, de-stress, decompress, whatever it is, you're going to start taking deep breaths and just take a moment. And that applies in every aspect of your life. Business or personal, it doesn't matter. And I had a CEO once, it was a female CEO, Julia Stewart, and I worked for her many, many years ago. And she said, I like how when I ask you a question, you don't feel like you have to come up with the answer right away.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's okay to say, I'll get back to you on that. I will find the answer. I don't have it right now, but rather than just saying something, she said, I respect and appreciate that about you because you actually take the time to make sure you're going to find the right answer. And that to me says everything about having that clarity of decision and, leadership because it's not about having all the answers all the time.
No, it's so not about that. And I feel like a lot of leadership is about embracing those mistakes and owning when we made when we made errors and sharing that with our team. But also, I love how your daughter taught you. I feel like my daughter has taught me so much. My son has taught me so much about being a human and
Mm.
patience and
Mhm.
embracing the pause
Mhm.
that I didn't know before. So I feel like our children are such a gift to us to help us grow on this journey.
Agreed.
So the boardroom to the bedroom, your book bridges leadership, money, relationships, and intimacy. Why is it so important for leaders to stop compartmentalizing their lives?
That's because I feel like when you compartmentalize your life, you're only focused on that one area. And again, we're talking about integration of all aspects of our life. And when you compartmentalize, you are only focused, let's just say, on your career or your business. Number one, everything else can fall to the wayside,
Mhm.
right? Again, our health, or our relationships, with our family and our friends and our spouses or significant others. But also, what happens when that area goes down?
Mhm.
Right? That's the only thing you're single-minded focused. So my whole perspective with that from the boardroom to the bedroom and beyond is just that. It's just as important to have the life that I want in my relationship with my husband, who you've interviewed him as well. And we met at the age of 13. So we've been together for over 40 years and we've been married for 32 years. And so, so
I
that
love that.
relationship, that is so important to me. And so the boardroom to the bedroom and beyond is about focusing on relationships. It's about focusing on our careers and our businesses. And it's about focusing on the beyond is all those other areas as well. The health, the wellness, the spiritual, emotional intelligence type of stuff, working on our self-care, personal development, right? There's all these aspects on our wheel of life. And so that's just basically me saying it's so important for us to kind of hone in again on all of the areas and seeing where we can do better, right? Where
Mhm.
we can, improve and, slightly, baby steps. But I would venture to say if somebody lost their job tomorrow, and actually this is another example from real life that I had a client and they were let go from their very high level corporate job. That was their whole identity.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
when that goes away, that can really impact us on an emotional level that is pretty heavy, right? So I think that that's a cautionary tale to not just, we don't just want to what's the saying, work to live. We don't want to work to live, we want to live to work or whatever that is, but people
Yeah.
who spend their whole life just trying to make a living, you don't
Mhm.
ever get to have a life. That's how I want to say it. You don't want to spend so much time, making a living that you don't have a life that you love and that you enjoy.
Yeah. And I think that that's a big shift in society. Like it's not what we were taught when we were younger.
Right. Right.
But I think that it's something that we are as a society really moving to is making sure that we are taking care of ourselves first, that more of that interdependency versus some codependency that maybe we had. So you have worked in like high levels of finance. How has your definition of wealth changed over the years?
That's really good. It's changed so much because it used to be purely about that net worth, right? Like that, what is your net worth? How many zeros, do you have in your bank account? And that is one aspect of measurement of wealth. But as we
Mm-hmm.
age and we mature and we become more emotionally intelligent, I'll say, or more aware, the true wealth, as I've learned over time, is in all of those things that we've been talking about, right? Like again, you can have the biggest bank account in the world, but if you don't have solid, relationship with your kids, friendships, spiritual connections, emotional connections, health. That is a big one. A lot of people say health is wealth. Now that's a new buzzword in the industry, right? Like health is wealth. And it's true because if I don't take care of myself, I'm not going to be around to be able to create those memories with my kids and my grandkids, right? And that is, or with my husband, right? That's what's so important to me. And there's no bank account that could take the place of those types of the joy of creating the memories of, living my life intentionally with the people that I love. So it's changed a lot. I've done a whole 180 from what it used to be because again, that was my major, my career in undergrad, MBA, finance. Like I knew from 1987 when I watched Wall Street that I wanted to go into finance. I was a junior in high school. So my whole life
Yes.
has been about, like money and investing and understanding it and teaching it then later. And now it's great. It's like oxygen, right? We all need it. But it's not the most important thing in the world.
Yeah. You are currently doing a 28-day health challenge. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Quickly, I am doing a 28-day body balance challenge. It's not a diet. It's not a fast. It's not, it's nothing really crazy or extreme. It's basically about resetting my metabolism, my hormones, and my daily habits. Because when I had the health scare, that was 2023, and I lost a lot of weight, and I got my numbers were all good. My doctor was like, you took control of your health without having to get on a bunch of medications and stuff. And so I, gold stars. But holiday time comes around, everybody starts, I think from November to the end of December, it's just free reign for everyone. Like, we're just like,
Mhm.
we eat, you want to eat the pies and the cookies and the, holiday treats and the big dinners. And so I did indulge, and it's time to do a reset. And what I found was that, like, my husband also had an issue with his blood pressure recently and some stuff going on. And I'm like, we need to get you on this too. So what I found is that taking that 28 days to, just eat clean, it's basically eating from a clean, like you mentioned, like cutting out a lot of the bad stuff, a lot of things that we call them hormone disruptors. So the caffeine, a lot of dairy products. We want to get rid of the sugar, cut those things out as much as possible, and focus on whole foods that are not processed and that are low on what we call low on the glycemic index, meaning they don't have a lot of natural sugar. Natural sugar is obviously okay, but they're lower on the glycemic index. So like berries and, apples and over like bananas, if you will, which would be a higher sugar content. And so, yeah, and then we do moderate, not anything extreme, but 20 to 30 minutes of moderate exercise a day, which could be just walking after dinner or whatever. And that's good for anyone, right? Regardless of whether you're on this challenge or not, we should be doing that. And then proper
Yeah.
supplementation, making sure that you have the proper nutrients and vitamins in your body. And we're emphasizing protein, fiber, healthy fats. And then a lot of us are vitamin D deficient. So including supplements that will help you in those areas. And that's basically it. It's a 28-day, and we're on day 5, and it's going well. And we've been doing fun recipes. And, my husband cooked dinner the last 2 nights. So he's really getting into it too. So, yeah, yeah, total bonus. So yeah, it's been fun, but thank you for asking. It's definitely something that I think is important for anyone who might be having issues. And some people say, well, how do you know if your hormones are out of balance? Well, there will be signs. For women, they think, oh, it's hot flashes and night sweats. But men also there's so many hormones in our body. There's cortisol, which is driven by our stress, right? There's, all the different hormones that affect our hunger and whether or not we have food cravings. And so if you have, insomnia and night sweats and headaches and, excess belly fat or weight gain that's abnormal, that's coming on, those are the signs. There's quite a few of them that are signs that your hormones might be out of balance and it might be time for a reset. So that's what we've been doing. It's resetting our bodies.
That's fun. I like that. I got a under the desk treadmill for Christmas,
I love
and I've
that.
been loving, it's you can't do it while you're on Zoom because I was with a friend the other day, and she was doing this presentation. I was like, "Do you care if I'm on if I do this?" And she was like, "Yeah, just turn off your camera because it gives me vertigo." I was like, "Okay, good to know. Good to know."
Yes. Good you asked.
Yes, yes. So through your nonprofit work in affordable housing, what have you learned about leadership, dignity, and community that business alone couldn't teach you?
People matter. Everyone, we're all humans, and being aware and empathetic, I guess, is a great way to look at leadership. I am sorry, I'm not going to remember the author, but I read a book and it stuck with me about the 4 P's of leadership. And I don't want to misquote which book, but it was like passion, principles, practices, and people. And the
Mm,
people part, it's taught me so much about that because when you really learn to see people for, who they are, not what they have
mm,
or where they are in life, you really become a better leader. Whether that is your team, whether that is, your clients, whatever it is, you have to learn to look beyond, their current situation or their current station in life. And, we've gotten to the point where, we really have a lot of people that come to us with really serious situations, and a lot of times it's emergency, like they're running from a dangerous situation at home, and there's, a lot of times there's children involved, and we're very free with the, like how we interact with them. And when I say free, it's like we don't ask a lot of questions, right? Like if you come to us and, you tell us the situation and how can we help? And, I had someone ask, well, how do you know that they're not scamming? Which, number one, is sad that in this climate that people have to think like that. And, I said, you know what? If they are, that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's about my conscience, and making sure. And I believe that helping people, and when they come to us, I choose to see the good in people. And when
yes.
you're a good leader, I think seeing the good in people is one of the things that, that doesn't mean you don't, help them to improve or progress, right? Especially if you're in the mode of training, but it's about understanding and seeing them for where they are and appreciating them, and like focusing on the good stuff. Like, if I always think as parents, we have such a cool perspective because they teach us, we've already said so much, but like you wouldn't focus on all the negative stuff with your kids. I mean, you shouldn't, right? Like you're always going to find something positive. You're their biggest cheerleader. My kids always say, Mom, you're biased. Yes, I am biased. I agree, but I'm always going to find the good things, right? And that's how we should be with everyone.
Mm,
Especially as a leader, it's you're going to get more, what's the saying, attract more bees with honey than vinegar.
yes.
When you're working with your clients, when you're working with your team members, you want to make sure that you're appreciating people and finding the good in them and focusing on that, and building on that. So the nonprofit is a perfect opportunity for us to kind of look at that and say, gosh, these people they're human beings and they just need a handout, right, a hand up right now. And we are so blessed that we are able to do that for them, but also that it's not about the stuff. Like, once you get behind, like they're cool people, they're fun people, they're intelligent people, they're people who have been successful that may have fallen down on their luck. And so I'm like, gosh, when you realize that we're all really at our core the same, and that there is some good in all of us, I think that's a lesson for everybody right now. That we are all human, and that we all have something to offer and bring to the table. So we're able to look past their current situation to see that.
Yeah, I love that. The perspective of people and kind of like meeting them where they are to help them come to the next level.
Hmm. Yep. That's what we strive to do.
Yeah.
That's what we strive to do.
So, what has helped you stay emotionally resilient through career transitions, entrepreneurship, and parenthood, service driven work, all of the things?
Oh, am I emotionally resilient? Yes, what has helped me, I think, Trying to be grounded in who I am and what I'm passionate about and my purpose is what's helped the most because I feel that sometimes it's difficult when again I people introduce themselves as their career and that becomes your identity. Like I am vice president or what do you know what do you do? Oh, I'm vice president of finance, and for me, it's about understanding that I'm not about the title. That's not who I am. That's what I do. And it's very important to distinguish that because you can go through an emotional roller coaster as you transition, right? In and out. I
Mhm.
was on the CFO track very, very young when I was first in my career in finance. And after our third child, our youngest child, was born, I told my husband I didn't really want to go to work anymore. And so I took a step back and became a stay-at-home mom for some years. Now, when I got back into the workforce, again, talking about emotional resilience, of course they want me to start over again, right? So I essentially have to start over. So all the experience that I got, before I had to take a step back. So I think for me, that was the first lesson. And then ever since then, and I was in my 20s, right? We had kids young, so I was in my 20s. So for the last 30 years, it's been about guess what? No career, no salary, no position, no business is going to define who I am. What am I passionate about? What are my values and my principles? Who am I? What is my purpose? And I'm going to focus on that. And whatever happens in between, I can roll with it. As long as I'm being true to myself, that's all that matters.
I love that perspective. It's beautiful, beautifully said. As someone who has naturally becomes a role model over time, how do you lead without pretending to have it all figured out?
Just being authentic. I think because, it's easy to put on the persona of expert,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I try to be as authentic as possible. Dealing with teams in our health and wellness business, we deal with a lot of people, and as you know, whether they're clients or team members. And one of the things that I will often do, and this is a tip for leaders, to not be the smartest person in the room. That third party validation, we call it, or bringing in another person that says that I don't always have to be the expert because guess what? I know a little about a lot of things. I know a little
Mm-hmm.
about a lot of things, but I don't know everything, right? So I oftentimes will either bring in third party validation, whether it's referencing another expert or bringing in someone else to speak or another team member that's been doing, this aspect better than me, even referencing, like I said, a book or something like that. And so I think it's important to be okay saying, this is my authentic self and I am not the expert. I don't know everything, but doesn't make me less of a leader, right? I think that people respect you more, you know, again, the CEO example, when you're able to say, you know what? I don't have all the answers.
Yes.
But when I do, I will share them with you and or I am okay saying, you know what? I'm going to bring in somebody who has the answers. I'm going to bring in someone else on my team and I'm going to lift them up and I'm going to give them a place of authority and edify them and let them have some shine and some leadership. So that kind of taking the attention off of me because I feel like that also too is in this influencer culture that we're coming into. I feel like that can be a dangerous place for young people. I really do. And so I'm trying to, I wish we could get that message out that, it's not about the clicks and the likes and the views and the followers. Because at the end of the day, those people that love you today, they might not love you tomorrow. And if your identity is caught up in that, then that's a very dangerous place. So sorry,
Yeah.
I digress, but it made me think
No,
about
you're
that.
good. It's so funny. I was working with a client earlier and he was like talking about how, he's, these types of posts are what gets engagement. And I was like, people are seeing your stuff, whether they're liking it or not.
That's
People
right.
all the time will be like, oh, I see your message. And they never like the post.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean like your message needs to be your message whether you're getting clicks or not, because people are still seeing it. If you make a difference in one person's life, that's all that really matters.
So true. That's so true, Tim. We say this all the time. I'll
Yes.
post a million times about the body balancing drops or just whatever, health and challenge. And then 3 months, 4 months, 5 months will pass and somebody will be like, hey, so I've been seeing your posts. I'm like, really? I didn't know
Yes.
you were paying attention.
Hmm. Yeah, because there's
So it's
some
great.
some people that will never like click that like or make a comment
Yes,
because that's not who they are. But
that's
it
right.
doesn't mean they're not seeing it. It doesn't mean you're not impacting them. Yeah, I went through a little phase because as I was doing my self-discovery, and one of the books that I read was the Gene Keys, and
Mm.
one of my prominent traits has this thing with wanting external validation. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, ouch.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
had to really reflect on that and see, okay, am I? And so now when I post, it is more about the education or, bringing value. It's not, if I don't get the likes, it's okay. It's not about
Mm-hmm.
that. I can validate myself, but I think that that's something that comes as we build our self-awareness, and we grow through some hard times in life.
That's that's so good. For me, it's the other part of it. It's the perfection part that I talked about.
Mm.
Like my personality type, I would record a video like 17,000 times because it's like it has now we're friends on stuff. Like now I'll just post. Like I don't care,
Yes.
what I look like. Like I might stumble over my words. Like it's about being authentic and getting the message out. It's not about sitting here doing 70 takes. Trying to get it
Yes.
exactly right, the right cadence, the right everything, So yeah. I think TikTok for that because TikTok tends to be a little more casual. And
Mm.
I feel like, and so yeah, Instagram, I carried it over to all platforms. So I'm just more casual now and I don't worry about the perfect post.
Yes, because is there such thing really a
No,
perfect post?
no, no.
Yes, so I told him is that the way that because he used to says that he put his first video out and it was like he did like 50 takes. I was like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
at least you got it out. I'm proud of
Yeah.
you. The way that I overcame that years ago is I used to go live because then
Yes.
I was because I would do the same thing. I would redo it and redo it,
Yes.
redo it. And I was like, okay, now I don't even want to post. I'm out of the mood. And so when you go live, it's just out there. So people just see it. And then you get really comfortable in your own skin and you realize that your message isn't really about you. If you have a
Right.
message to share, it's about who you're sharing it for.
That's right. Absolutely. That's it.
For leaders who feel called to more but aren't sure what their next step should be, what's the first alignment shift that they should make?
I feel like doing some internal work about what you value and what your purpose, I'm going to go back to that, is probably where they should start. Like and for me, I mean that just basically means what is my ultimate goal? Like what is my and I'm not talking about some big grandiose purpose, right? Like life purpose, which also is important, but like what right now in this season of my life is driving me to want to do X, Y, or Z.
Mm.
And once you figure out at your core, is it financially driven? Is it educationally driven? Like I want to educate people. I'm passionate, about letting people know about, the importance of balancing their hormones or how hormones impacts dementia, right? Like that's something I'm passionate about, right? Like so right now in this season that's my focus. And so I think when we take an internal look at what is really driving us, because it's not about the money. I'm not making any money, really, doing that. I mean, I sell some stuff, but I don't, that's not my point. So
Mm.
I think, is it spiritual? Is it, I got to just get food on the table, right? Is it, I want to grow my business, whatever. Is it I want to be a famous XYZ, or an influencer, whatever that is. It's not for me to judge, but I think you have to know. And oftentimes I think they're trying to do things that they think is what they're supposed to be doing. Like they think they're supposed to be making X number of dollars. And so I'm going to fall into this trap. And I think or they're desperate, right? They're working out of a place of desperation. I've seen, sadly, a lot of people that say, I just need to make money right now. So they can't afford to think about what they would like to do or what they're passionate about. But I would say that no matter what, for me, in those times where it's like, okay, yeah, I know you got to put food on the table, but guess what? You are in charge of your own destiny, right? I believe in you manifesting that life that you want. And I know I've seen you grow your business, shift your career. Like when I met you, you were, doing something completely different. And I've watched you grow, unleash your amazing. And I think that's amazing to watch, because I know that you said, this is what I'm passionate about. This is the message that I want to get out, and I'm going to make it happen. Yes, bills need to get paid. Yes, I need to bring in money, but I'm not going to sacrifice what, I'm passionate about, what my purpose is, to do that. I'm going to try to figure out how to do that along the way. And I think that the best success in manifesting, or like, attracting the life you want, is to really, you have to know what it is, and you have to be laser focused on that and make it happen based on what your desires are. And that's the only thing that I can say. I feel like going along with the flow, then that means you're letting someone else or your circumstances be in charge of your destiny, rather than you taking control of your life, your career, your business, and your leadership.
Love that. Yes. Yeah, it felt more like a calling that I was supposed to do,
Yes.
and felt very selfish for a long time, but here we are, and it's manifesting, and it's here, and I'm just very grateful for all the people that have impacted me along the way and supported me. So thank you for that.
Oh, no, you're welcome. It's so fun to watch. So fun to watch your business grow.
So what does unleash your amazing leadership mean to you?
Unleash your amazing leadership means to me, I think it means to be the best version of myself. I think it means to lead from the front. And the best version of myself does not mean, again, I think I'm going to encapsulate everything that we've kind of talked about. Doesn't mean being the best at everything or having all the answers. It means being authentic and true to my values and my principles, who I am, what I know, what I'm passionate about, and then most importantly, loving on the people that I'm leading and
Mm,
understanding what their needs are, and helping them to reach their goals and objectives. Zig Ziglar, I think, said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And that's exactly how I
yes,
see it.
I love that. That's beautifully said. Thank you. Thanks for sharing all your time with me today. If people
Of course.
wanted to get a hold of you and learn more about your body balancing drops or your 501(c)(3) or anything, how could they connect with you?
You could go to thepropertyphd.com or the Property PhD on all platforms, well, TikTok and Instagram mainly. And you can find me there. Now you might find some other stuff. I post about all kind of things, but but that's where you can
Okay,
find me.
good.
Thank you.
Diversify, right?
That's right. I talk about puzzling. I talk about relationship. I talk about whatever. I just, share my life.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
that's very authentic of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tammy, for having me today. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.